So now that the context is defined and we wrap our components here with our context provider, it's time to start using that context. Now, I mentioned that I want to show the notification here in this _app.js file. And I would actually have problems with that because that's also the file where we wrap with our notification context provider. So this component itself, this myApp component in which I use the notification, is not wrapped by notification context provider because it's this component's JSX code where we do the wrapping. Hence, we can't tap into our context here inside of this component function. But that's no problem. We can get rid of the notification here and cut it and remove its import, and instead just use the layout component, because that also is a wrapper around all our other content. And it's the perfect component for rendering a notification. Also, if we have a look at its name, layout, it is per definition a wrapper for visual content. And therefore, if I go to my layout component, I'll simply add the notification there, and then of course also add the import for the notification component from the UI folder like this. And now in the layout component, we can tap into our context, and for that I'll import the useContext hook, which allows us to do that. We can call useContext and then pass the context to which we want to establish a connection as an argument to useContext. So to make that work, we should import the context to which we want to connect, and that's the notification context, not the notification context provider, but just the notification context, because I just want to connect to this context object here. So not the provider component, but this context object, this one, which is exported as a default. That's what I need for a use context. So in the layout component, that's what I'll import from my store folder. So for my store notification context file. So pass notification context as an argument to use context, and that gives us access to that context value. Now we can use that context to call show or hide notification, or to get the current notification data. And that's what we need here in this layout component to conditionally show the notification. So here I'll then get access to the notification, and I'll name this active notification. So I'll store the notification managed by my context in a constant here in this component. And if that is not null, so if we have an active notification in our context, then I want to render this notification with the data stored in active notification. So we want to render notification conditionally, and we can do this as we always do it with this syntax here, and then just populate the props here with the active values from the active notification. So active notification title, and also set the message to active notification message. And for the status, I'll set this to active notification status. So now this notification component is rendered whenever we have an active notification in our store, in our context. At the moment, though, we never have an active notification because we have no place that would trigger the show notification handler by calling show notification on the context object. And that's what I want to change now. Now that all the context is set up, I want to dive into the components where we do send HTTP requests to then call show notification from inside those components to show and update that notification with the appropriate data.